The following presentation is brought to you by the Realm Network.
Today on Mr. Media, I'll talk to writer Nicholas Nigro, whose latest book is Seinfeld, FAQ, Everything Left to Know About the Show About Nothing. Stick around. Serenity now, people. Track of it all. That would be me. This is Bob Andelman, and this is the Mr. Media Interview, brought to you today by Amazon.com. When you visit MrMedia.com and click on any of the links to purchase books, music, movies, gift certificates, or anything else through our Amazon link, you support this free video podcast. Whenever you need something else from Amazon, please consider returning to MrMedia.com to order it. It doesn't cost you any extra, and we sure appreciate the support. And don't forget, MrMedia.com has more than 1,200 celebrity audio and video interviews archived on the site. That's hundreds upon hundreds of hours free entertainment. Subscribe for free on MrMedia.com, and you'll instantly get an email every time a new interview is posted. You can also watch and subscribe to the show on YouTube, Vimeo, Dailymotion, the Realm Network, and Frequency.com. And if you prefer to just listen, Mr. Media is also available for free on iTunes, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Blueberry, TuneIn, Blog Talk Radio, Podfeed.net, and Player FM. You can subscribe to any of those services and never miss another episode. Finally, you can interact with Mr. Media Interviews on all kinds of social media, including Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and more. Friend or follow us, we'll friend or follow you back. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Mr. Media is recorded live before a studio audience full of diner customers who wish their waitress would spend less time getting mixed up in conversation with Jerry, George, Elaine, and Kramer, and more time taking their order for a big salad in the new media capital of the world, St. Petersburg, Florida. Today on Mr. Media, I'll talk to writer Nicholas Nigro, whose latest book is Seinfeld, FAQ, Everything Left to Know About the Show About Nothing. Stick around. Serenity now, people. Mr. Media is recorded live before a studio audience full of diner customers who wish their waitress would spend less time getting mixed up in conversation with Jerry, George, Elaine, and Kramer, and more time taking their order for a big salad in the new media capital of the world, St. Petersburg, Florida. You may think you know everything about Seinfeld, the long-running 1990s NBC sitcom, but do you know enough to fill a 385-page book? Nicholas Nigro, author of Seinfeld FAQ, does. And that's why he's my guest today, and you are not. Turns out there's still so much to learn, dots to connect, and trivia to be plumbed. And even when you think you know it all, Nigro offers up top 10 lists about the key characters, their doomed relationships, food obsessions, and lack of fashion sense, as well as steering the reader to the best and most underappreciated episodes. It's a show about something, even if that's nothing. And a place where nothing is learned, no one improves their station in life, and nary a hug is ever consummated. But I know what you're thinking. Yada, yada, yada. Get on with it already. Nicholas Nigro, welcome to Mr. Media.
Thank you for having me.
Good to have you. Nick, can there ever be too much written about Seinfeld?
I don't think so. I mean, just the fact that it is so popular in syndication and reruns and DVD sales, I think it's going to be finding a new fan base with each passing generation. So I don't think there'll ever be enough written about it. In fact, we're learning stuff every day now. Jason Alexander recently said that they killed off the character of Susan because he was not working well with the actress Heidi Swedenberg. And that's something that I didn't know. So, we're going to be learning new things, I think, with each passing year about the show.
Well, excuse me. And what was amazing about that revelation, first of all, I mean, it's been 15, 16 years since the show ended. Why even bring that up now?
I know, yeah. I thought that was kind of an awkward situation. Talking about the actress like that, because she was well liked and all, but they claim that she didn't just have the comedy connection that he needed.
Yeah, which is, it's just bizarre that he must have been having an odd day. You just can't imagine why Jason would feel that. I remember when I heard that, it was just like, why are you bringing that up now? Oh my God!
It was one of those Oprah moments, awkward or whatever,
Yeah. Well, and the other thing, and you talk about this at the very end of the book, and I'm not giving away anything because it's not fiction, but the Netflix deal brought in, what was it, like how much money was that deal for?
It was a lot. I forget the amount. It's just pushed Jerry Seinfeld into the billionaire realm.
And it was
which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you point out that the rest of the cast does not get a piece of that.
No.
And so, it's amazing that even in the 90s, they were not thinking ahead to. My literary agent, even in the 90s, added a clause to everything that I did that said, these rights include any rights to be developed in the future.
Yeah.
How
they made the big deal. I think it was the last season. Jason Alexander, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and Michael Richards had the deal with the DVD sales.
Right.
That was, but without that, all the money flows to Jerry Seinfeld and Larry David.
Right, and they probably thought at the time, oh, well, DVDs will go on forever. Well, no, right. Sorry.
No.
I don't know about you, but I can't remember the last DVD I bought.
Yeah, but I don't feel sorry for them. They did all right.
Oh, yeah. And I imagine that the cast of Friends, who were also famous for making a big deal then, probably are not getting any money from online. Yes, but, it is interesting because there are things that still come out. Well, then we may return to that near the end of the interview because some other questions about that. But was this book was it a straight on assignment for you, or are you a longtime Seinfeld fan?
Well, I was a Seinfeld fan. It wasn't an assignment. They were looking for someone to do specifically Seinfeld. So, I was a fan of the show, but I didn't seek that out or anything. It came to me, through my agent.
Sure. And so, you had an interest in Seinfeld. This wasn't one of those. Yeah. Wasn't one of those things where, hey, we need somebody. Can anybody develop some expertise on Seinfeld for us?
That type of thing has happened to me before when I've done some books, but not this particular one.
Okay. And so, as we look at the show, do you, do you have a favorite character? Do you have a least favorite character?
My favorite character, without a doubt, is George. I watch. I go on YouTube and I'll watch selected scenes, and I just find George. There's no close second with him with me. And as far as the recurring characters or the bit players through the years, I just love the Mr. Kruger episodes with Daniel von Bargen. Those are just my favorites.
Mr. Kruger. Okay, I'm not placing Mr. Kruger. Help me there.
He was the president of Kruger Industrial Smoothing. If you recall, towards the end of the series, George worked for Mr. Kruger, and he was like the apathetic boss, and just really funny. He was, but he came at the end, one of George's last jobs.
Well, I was going to say I was thinking about this overnight. The only Seinfeld actor who has appeared on this show was Larry Thomas, the soup Nazi.
Yeah.
And I kind of wondered where you would fit him into the greater pantheon of Seinfeld characters.
Oh, he was a great character. Yeah, but he was just on the one show, and then he returned for the finale. But as far as that one show, I would say, he left the most remarkable impression. I just remember when that show aired, everyone was talking about it. No soup for you. like, I don't think there's anything like a show like that now, or there could be anything like that now. I mean, you go back to the 90s, and it seemed like everyone was talking about Seinfeld the next day after it aired. I don't think we have that common bond anymore with all the cable stations, Netflix. It's a different world.
It was kind of that last show that actually drew the largest number of people together.
Yeah.
I mean,
it had. I think it was third behind MASH and Cheers, if memory serves, as far as the audience.
Yeah, now a big audience is 10, 15 million people.
Yeah.
How many people watched the last Seinfeld episode?
A lot, yeah. I mean, I think multiple millions.
Tens of millions, I suspect.
Yeah,
probably about
tens
30,
of millions.
Yeah, 20, 30 million. And the other thing I was saying, and I remember this just at the last minute, was that I did have Peter Melman on, Seinfeld writer.
Oh yeah.
And just for people who don't know that name, he's one of the writers he's credited, or either by himself or with other people, for writing The Nose Job, The Visa, The Implant, The Sponge, The Hamptons, and the yada yada, yada. And I read your comments about him. Why do his contributions stand out, do you think? Is it something about him? Did he just kind of mesh well with Larry and Jerry? What do you think it was?
I think that's what it was. I believe Melman was the one that Jerry Seinfeld had seen an essay that he had written, and he wasn't a comedy writer. He had never written for a sitcom. But Jerry Seinfeld saw something in what he read, gave him the opportunity, and I mean, he took off and then became like a producer of the show as well in the later years.
Right.
But he was good, yeah.
And that was part of the Larry David's thing, wasn't it? He didn't want people, men and women, who had written for traditional sitcoms.
Yeah,
or other
exactly.
sitcoms.
Exactly.
He had Carol... oh, help me, I can't think of her last name all of a sudden.
Carol Leifer.
Carol Leifer, right? She came in, and Melman
She's the one that the Elaine character is supposedly based on.
Yeah, although there's been, here again, in the last couple of years, there's been some pushback on that too, right?
Yeah, there's always something coming out that, no, that was not the case, it was. So, I mean, who knows what some of these actors are going to reveal down the road. I don't know what's going to come out of Michael Richards' mouth, but it's...
Yeah, well, let's come back to him in a few minutes.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about him, but these the FAQ books, and I had a fellow on a few months ago who did Quentin Tarantino FAQ, which was fun to read, as was yours. Do you have any particular favorite lists from the book?
Favorite list? Well, I did the episode list, and I call them the not necessarily top 10 list because.
Right.
I mean, everyone's got a different opinion. I mean, to say these shows are the best. Now, the contest is considered by many to be the best Seinfeld episode. So that is number one on the list. And then, a show like A Marine Biologist is considered a classic. But you have so many others that people have vastly different opinions about. I saw a list recently. It was on the internet. I think it was the 25 worst Seinfeld episodes. And I looked at it and I said, it has episodes that I've included in the top 10. And I think one was The Outing. And so it's just a matter of personal opinion. So that's why I call them the not necessarily top 10, because I know any Seinfeld aficionado will have his or her own favorites. But I did two lists. I did the top 10 episodes and what I thought were the top 10 underrated Seinfeld episodes.
And you did an episode guide, and I looked at that and I thought, there had to be days where even the most ardent Seinfeld fan, sitting down and watching every episode and summarizing and looking for key things, Even you, I mean, it had to wear you down at points, no?
That was very difficult to do. And because, they have scenes, they have 15 scenes in a Seinfeld episode. So there's so much going on with all the characters. Each character is involved in different plot twists. And to try to describe it in writing was not easy. And I watched the show in order again. I watched it from the pilot episode to the end. And I tried to get the episodes down as best as I could, but I ramble on occasion, I guess.
So were there moments where you got sick of yada yada yada?
It gets tiresome. I mean, when I watched every episode one after another, now I just remember when it was on weekly, you were watching it every week,
and it was special.
It was special. But then I'm watching, 4 a night, and then 4 the next night, and I think, over time, Seinfeld is somewhat dated. I think because the shock value is gone. So, when I'm watching Jerry say, not that there's anything wrong with that, I didn't find it amusing at all. Now it's just, but I remember at that time, I mean, that's what people were talking about. It's a whole different experience watching Seinfeld today than, say, 25 years ago.
And were there tropes that you picked up on in terms of things that they would fall back on that made the writing easier or faster? Or, that maybe watching it week to week over 9 years, it's one thing, but when you sit back and you watch, as you said, 4 episodes a night for God knows how long.
But I looked at other episode guides that other people had written, just for ideas or things I might have missed and all. But that was the hardest part of the book, to do an episode guide of a show like Seinfeld, which is very complicated and layered, as opposed to the main plot line of a sitcom, and then they would have a secondary, trivial plot line, and that was it. But it was something I got done eventually. It took a while. But
all right. Now, you have a chapter on Seinfeld controversies, and you mentioned how a lot of things are dated, and I was kind of looking at that, and I was thinking, did any of them endure for more than a few weeks? And, they were probably good for the show while they lasted, but there weren't any, there was nothing that changed the world in terms of things that were controversial.
No. And that was the age before social media and the internet, and I think now, forget about, the Puerto Rican Day was very controversial, and I think if it was in today, it would be a completely different, steamroller effect. But back then, people had to actually go and protest at NBC. I mean, now it would go viral, and it would. I don't know if they would even do a show like that today. A lot of the things they did.
Well, probably. You would find some of those things still showing up on Curb Your Enthusiasm with Larry David, where everything seems to go. But it's very rare that even that show. Okay, it's only available on HBO, so you're paying for it. But even something that seems controversial on that show, it doesn't last more than a day or two. People, if they get upset about anything, it passes pretty quickly.
Yeah, true.
So when we started talking, you made reference to Michael Richards, and I wanted to come back to him. It seemed to me that the only Seinfeld character, large or small, that did not weather their post-Seinfeld career very well was Michael Richards. Is that true? Am I overlooking somebody?
I would say without a doubt. And I had seen him in interviews through time, and he just seems like a strange man. Yeah. Generally speaking, compared to the other three when they were interviewed. And I just think that I don't think that he could get anywhere near Kramer, and whereas the others could go back and be who they were, like Jerry Seinfeld was a stand-up comedian, and and but with him, I mean, he's had attempts at shows that didn't play well, and then the Laugh Factory thing was just off the charts. I don't know.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, so I don't know how he's going to weather the storm in the future.
It seems like he's one of those guys, like say I don't know, Adam West in Batman, and I can't think of the fellow's name. Bob Denver, who played Gilligan, and ultimately Fred Herman, who played Herman Munster.
Fred Gwynn, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who had a great career before Munster, but I mean, it just they just seem they hit their match with a certain part, and then they got nothing left in the tank.
Yeah, that's very true. That's a good comparison. I mean, Michael Richards is like this physical comedian, and how can you top Kramer? Every time you entered the apartment, you did some sort of stumble and all sorts of stuff, and I don't know what he's like as a stand-up comedian, which he had done before. But his tirade was, a sight to see.
Yeah, yes, indeed.
Yeah.
And of course, you talk about there was time where we talked about the Seinfeld curse, that none of them could get past it. Jason Alexander struggled with it. Michael Richards, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, after watching Ellie, which wasn't a horrible show, it just wasn't a great show, has certainly.
She broke the curse. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she's done fine. Jerry's done fine. Larry David's done fine. Wayne Knight has done just fine. He did Third Rock from the Sun, and wasn't there another show that he was a regular on after that?
He was doing Third Rock from the Sun simultaneous.
Okay.
With the end of Seinfeld, I know he was on both shows.
I think
he's done well.
Yeah, and then I love the point that you make when you were talking about this stuff. Julia Louis-Dreyfus is the only person to have won an Emmy on 3 different series for playing 3 different roles. That's pretty amazing.
Yes. Yeah, that is pretty amazing.
I would go so far as to say that in Veep, she's got her best role yet. I mean, that's phenomenal. You want to hate her every time because she's such a freaking idiot, but somehow she you got to, if you watch the show, you come back to her. I don't know.
Well, that's what Seinfeld brought to the fore, the fact that you could have these characters that are so unpleasant, lack of morals, do terrible things to people, but yet you're tuning in every week and you want more. Now, I think that's what distinguished the show from past sitcoms.
And are you a fan of Larry David's Curb Your Enthusiasm?
I don't have now HBO, so I don't see it. But I have seen it, and I liked it. It's kind of like the raw, next step for Seinfeld, where anything goes.
Well, and that's what I was curious, is how maybe how you thought it compared.
Well, I liked Seinfeld because I thought at the time Seinfeld was just so unique and groundbreaking, and I think everything that's come after it, it's just not the same. So I prefer Seinfeld, and maybe like just the fact that it is on network television, that it did have some boundaries, and I don't think it's necessarily better that you can go off as far as you want on cable. I don't think it's necessarily more funny.
Mm-hmm. And you've seen, I guess, Seinfeld's Getting Coffee with Comedians in Cars?
Yes. And I really enjoy that, yeah.
It's interesting to see him carrying on conversations, and that's kind of the extension of the Seinfeld brand from the show, isn't it?
Yes, exactly, yeah. I mean, talking to Don Rickles, and it's perfect for him.
Mm-hmm. And
he's not trying to be any more than Jerry Seinfeld now. He has no need to top Seinfeld, and I think that's a great show.
The other thing I was going to ask you about that is kind of an extension of that. There's a video people can see. I'm pretty sure it was on YouTube. It's Jerry Seinfeld, and the thing is, I can't remember. I think it's David Letterman interviewing Jerry Seinfeld at the Paley Center in New York, or something like that. I'm close to that, and it was fascinating to see these guys sit down. It's kind of like a long version of the Getting Coffee with Comedians bit.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've seen it, but it's an amazing moment of Seinfeld and Letterman, for that matter.
Well, it's interesting when people ask Jerry Seinfeld if there was ever going to be a reunion, and he said no. The show had an expiration date. They're all single, dating, and now he's 60 years old, and it's just So I think that's been good. They didn't decide to go back, even though they did do the good reunion thing on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Right. And I kind of wondered if they did that as a favor to Michael Richards to give him another shot at public life.
Well, yeah.
None of the rest of them
helped
hated
him.
it. Yeah, it certainly didn't hurt him, that's for sure. All right. Well, so listen, what's next up for you? What are you working on next?
Well, I'm now doing a ghostwriting project on a comedian from the past, but I'm sworn to secrecy, so I can't. But it's very interesting, and that's what I'm doing right at this moment.
All right. Cool. Well, folks, listen. You can order Nicholas Nigro's new book, Seinfeld FAQ. Everything left to know about the show about nothing, from great retailers everywhere, or you can get it right now at a great price from MrMedia.com. If you're watching the video, if you're listening, look below somewhere. There's either you can see the book. You can click on the cover of the book, take you to Amazon, or there's a text link. Again, you can order it immediately. I understand they can have it to you in 30 minutes or less by drone, or you can probably just download it electronically. Nick, do you have a website? Are you on Twitter, Facebook, any of that kind of stuff?
I have a website, but it's just a basic website. I'm from the old school of kind of like the Seinfeld era of technology for me, so I always just I have the website that links the books to Amazon and all.
Okay.
And it's nicholasnigro.net.
.net. Oh, you are old school.
Yeah. Well, that was the only one available. I think I let my com expire at some point, and someone else got hold of it. So, yeah.
So, and did you set that up from your flip phone? No, I'm sorry.
No,
just kidding.
No, yeah. I did build it myself, though, with GoDaddy, so
right.
I'm not completely incompetent in that regard. Yeah.
I didn't mean to imply that you were, sir. All right. Well, Nick Nigro, pleasure talking to you. The book's a lot of fun. I think anyone who's a fan of Seinfeld and the actors and the situations will enjoy it. And thank you so much for joining us on Mr. Media today.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
Thank you.
To believe her, a bad idea to believe her. Turn up the stereo receiver. Turn up the stereo receiver.
Hi, this is Buzz Burbank in the Buzz Burbank newsroom, preparing for you another Buzz Burbank news and comment. Do you like good stories? Boy, I sure do. I turn over a lot of stones each day to make sure I don't miss the best ones. Sure, some make me angry, and some make me sad, and some make me laugh, and isn't that what makes us human? I'm proud of the fact that I pack more news into my 10 or 15 minutes a day than the evening news does in a half hour. It's a free podcast at buzzburbank.com, or you can subscribe free at iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, or get it on any RSS device. It's like a newspaper for your head. It's Buzz Burbank News and Comment, another Realm Network presentation. Weekday mornings right here on the Realm Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to the George and Tony Entertainment Show. Prepare for awesome mediocrity.
We're the Cousin Oliver of the Realm Network. I'm George.
And I'm Tony.
And we're a weekly family-friendly podcast about pop culture.
From our point of view.
At realmnetwork.com, the George and Tony Entertainment Show from the Realm Network.
This is Snake. Do you read me, Otacon?
Loud and clear, Snake.
Did you listen to the latest episode of the Gaming Marathon on the Realm Network?
Of course. They really know their stuff about gaming, especially that Usad guy.
Yeah, but that Chirac guy is a real jerk. I don't like him.
Regardless, their reviews are spot on and they tell it like it is.
That's for sure.
What happened, Snake? Were you spotted?
Nah, it's just Lil Melser crying about the O's again.
Close call.
I better continue the search for Metal Gear, but keep listening to the Gaming Marathon each week.
You got it, Snake.
New every Monday afternoon right here on the Realm Network.
It's the Mark and Lowell Show.
Hi, this is Mark. And this is Lowell. And if you're fans of Don and Mike, you may know who we are.
Our number one interns. You've met them on the show. They're the guys that ate all the junk, and they were outside with each other holding hands with a sign that said that they loved each other wearing the dunce caps.
And what you may not know is that we started out as fans back in their WAVA days.
Hi, Don and Mike. It's Mark and Lowell.
Oh, yeah. Hey, these are two guys that we once actually called them our proteges, didn't we?
And now we have our own show, so we want you to give it a shot. Just check us out at the Realm Network, realmnetwork.com, or you can go to markandlowell.com.
Resistance is futile. It's the Mark and Lowell Show.
Every Tuesday and Thursday evenings right here on the Realm Network. And catch the Poor Premium Show Friday nights.